Well, hello everyone. My name is Brian Stevens, and I have the distinct honor and the privilege to serve as the President and CEO of the Hampton Roads Chamber. This is another Hampton Roads Chamber Chat, and we're honored again today to have with us the President and CEO of SIR, which is a company that does market research and strategic planning, and I can tell you guys, it's one of the best in the nations at what it does. John Martin is with us, the President and CEO. John, welcome.
Thanks, Brian. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming and talking about really an interesting subject.
Yeah.
What we're going to talk about today is called RVA757 Connects,
That's right.
which is the newer name of an initiative that was started years ago by one of our real business leaders here in the 757, Tom Frantz.
Yep.
And more recently, we've brought in a business leader in Richmond, Ted Chandler. And we've been meeting on a routine basis, and really before the pandemic, back in late 2018, 2019, we got real serious about this. And we started coming together and really working this mega region concept. Can you talk to us a little bit about that concept?
Yeah. So mega regions, it's not a new idea.
Right.
I mean, if you go back 5 decades, sort of the motherships of mega regions was Research Triangle.
Exactly. Raleigh-Durham,
Raleigh-Durham.
Research Triangle.
And then if you go up to the north, Boston Route 28 is like a technology corridor. So that's always been in the economic development lingo. And then I think the biggest mega region of all is probably Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's been going on for, well, as long as computers.
Mm-hmm.
So those three really started this idea that the economy can be looked at as, yes, you're not your neighborhood or your city or your region, but actually even a larger mega region. And so what has happened over the last 50 years is that about 11 mega regions have just formed naturally. So when you're in outer space looking down, from the space station, you can see the lights at night, and you can almost count off 11 major mega regions across the country. And what we're finding now, the science of mega regions, is that these economies are where 70% of the population lives and America's GDP comes out of, these 11 mega regions. So we want to be part of one, right? Richmond and Hampton Roads. And so RVA757 working together because being intentional about some things can actually benefit both markets, both participants. And so that's really what a mega region is. It's not coming together as one brand. Certainly Raleigh-Durham are 2 separate brands and 2 separate markets, but working together as twin stars, both economies win.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea here.
Yeah, it's a great concept. And like you said, it's not new.
Right.
But I'm so excited that we're moving in that direction here in RVA and 757. And ultimately, John, isn't it all about just leveraging the mutual assets that we have towards the betterment of both municipalities?
That's exactly right. And to think about Richmond and Hampton Roads and what we have, and it's a long list of assets for both regions.
Yeah.
But at the top of the list, I mean, Richmond is the state capital. Right? And then the Hampton Roads, I mean, the airport system is just a jewel. And the list goes on, but it's complementary. And a river connects us, and a road connects us, and a rail system connects us. So we have been twin stars for a long time, going back 400 years.
Absolutely, and I love that word, complementary.
Yeah.
We need to be complementary and not competitive.
That's right.
We need to work together.
And let me speak to that because, sometimes we do compete.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But where we don't have scale in a category, we should collaborate and cooperate. And where we do have scale, well, we can compete. Yeah. But there's so much areas of opportunity for us to work together. And that's what we're doing now, intentionally focused on those areas.
Yeah. I took a few notes of areas of our assets that we can work together on. Obviously, our workforce, the talent that we have in both regions. Yeah. Higher education, John, we've got some magnificent institutions of higher education, both in Richmond here and Hampton Roads. I don't think we do a good job of telling that story. transportation, connectivity, all
Yeah.
the stuff that's going on to connect Richmond and Hampton roads, and the Port of Virginia.
That's right.
That operates not just in Hampton roads, but a lot of people don't know it operates in Richmond as well, right?
That's right.
The Richmond port. High-speed intercontinental cables that's coming in,
Yep.
leveraging those for both regions. And the new one that I'm adding, because I think it's such an economic opportunity for both regions, is offshore wind.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Hampton Roads is doing a great job trying to get itself in position to be like the ground zero for offshore wind.
That's so important for our economy. I think offshore wind is the economic development opportunity for the decade. And it's not just for Hampton Roads, but I think Richmond.
Yep.
When you talk about the supply chain for those 250 wind turbines, I think Richmond could get involved in that as well.
That's right. And those offshore cables coming ashore at Virginia Beach.
Right.
One of the companies behind that has invested in some IT centers in Richmond, right by the Richmond airport.
Yeah.
And so it's just all ties together. It's like a cosmic highway, I call it. I think the port system is the very best example, though. And it was, about 4 or 5 years ago when our two regional leaders started talking with each other, saying, we should cooperate a little bit more and understand where each market's headed. And we got together and do a bus trip, actually, and we came to each market and we stayed in Williamsburg. But through those conversations, some amazing things have happened. And I think the port system is the best example. The Virginia port system is a system. And in Richmond, we have a marine terminal on the James River.
Right.
It wasn't reaching its full potential. I think that's fair to say. And when we think about it, we're not really in the port business in Richmond. We don't have this expansive waterfront. But nonetheless, we did have this marine terminal, and we said, how do we make this work better? And so created a partnership, actually, with the Virginia port system here. And now Richmond, we have a 50-year lease that we've signed. And so our port's being run from Hampton Roads.
Right.
But it's been transformative in terms of the increased cargo, and transformative in terms of all the logistic warehouses that have been built all around that port system in Richmond. So that partnership has just been tremendous. And I could go through a number of examples like that. So the question is, how do we accelerate that?
Yeah.
How do we be more intentional? And I think what we definitely need to do is improve those connections between our markets.
Oh, yeah.
Rail and the highway, that last little 29 miles of 64 between the Richmond airport and Williamsburg. We've got to get that expanded.
Yeah, and we're working on all that. But I think the example you gave of the port is emblematic of the art of the possible.
That's right.
And what we can do between the two regions. John, in order to pull all this together, you need to get some organizations and some key leaders together.
That's right.
Who has been involved in this? What kind of organizations have really been rolling up their sleeves and doing work here?
I'll tell you that the art of the possible, after having success as a real informal group, a decision was made, this has legs.
Yeah.
We need to stand this up as a real formal, intentional group. And so with Tom Franz's leadership and Williams Mullen, we became a 501c3.
That's right.
And then I have to give kudos to Debbie DeCroce and the Community Foundation, Hampton Roads Community Foundation, stepped up and said, hey, we want to help and provide a grant for you for 3 years. And that helped inspire some corporate giving. And so we have now become an official entity. We have a board of directors, and we have another group that is part of RVA757 Connects called the Mega Region Institutional Council.
Right.
And the short name for that is the MIC, Mega Region Institutional Council. And it's aptly named because we're giving the microphone to organizations that are really well versed in understanding what their region needs and how to plan and how to implement. So the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission was on that, and of course the Community Foundation, but also Civic Leadership Institute, who is a great resource for training the next generation of leaders. And the list goes on and on and on, but just think about it as the institutional members. And the real power is that the Hampton Roads institutional members are synced up to their sisters in Richmond, because in Richmond we have a planning district commission called Plan RVA,
Right.
and we have the Community Foundation of Greater Richmond, right. And we have all of these organizations that are sort of parallel, and so they are part of RVA757 Connects too, and that's the real power. A board and then a sounding advisory board is well connected.
Yeah, the chambers are involved in that too.
The chambers are absolutely involved in that, and in fact, I want to say that the chambers have been one of the real spiritual leaders of this from the very beginning, in helping to put together that bus trip that I alluded to, where we had both leaders, 50 leaders from both markets, touring each market and talking about this possibility. And then this past October 13th in Jamestown, we had a wonderful event that Hampton Roads Chamber and Chamber RVA orchestrated completely and focused on this whole concept in RVA 757 Connects. And had speakers come in from Raleigh, Durham, and we had a man that wrote the book on mega regions.
Literally,
Jonathan Barnett. He came and he talked about what he's seeing across the country, and he gave the chambers and all the people involved in this a huge compliment. He said, "I wish I had known about you guys before I finished my book on mega regions. You're writing a new chapter about being so intentional that you're creating an organization, and it's not just one thing you're focused on, but you're focused across the board on how do you improve the economy and the quality of life for people of both regions on so many important initiatives."
Yeah. Speaking of that, I know that that 757 or RVA 757 Connects works on specific focus areas.
That's right.
Could you share with us what some of those focus areas are?
Yes. And I want to start by saying we are joining a chorus of other organizations and well-connected people in trying to drive some of these focus areas, right? Because the more people you get behind it, the more chance it has for success. So one of them I mentioned earlier is the I-64 gap funding. When you look at the incredible work of this region, I know the Chamber was involved in this, but you have a transportation authority. Right. You have $5.2 billion at work improving the roads and a new tunnel for the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. It's going to be transformative, right? Well, that work also extends from the peninsula all the way to Williamsburg in terms of widening 64. Almost done, right? But when you go past Williamsburg, it goes back to 2 lanes. And it's 2 lanes to the Richmond airport. And so that's got to be widened. And that takes a lot of resources. And so it's going to take time to find those resources, but we're going to lend our voice to saying this is important for the future of our 2 regions. And it's important for Williamsburg, that's part of this whole RVA 757 Connects.
Absolutely.
And the future plans there. It's important for the port and logistics. So that's one thing. Another is rail service. We have rail service from Hampton Roads to Richmond. We need more of it.
Absolutely.
And we need to have more dependable service. Well, in order to increase the traffic there, you have to have environmental impact studies done. And in fact, you have to have 2 of them done. And the first one has been completed, but we need a second one. And so we want to draw attention to that money needs to be put towards getting this second environmental impact study completed, so we'll be in line for federal dollars that are going all across the country to increase rail. Absolutely. But we got to get in that line, so we got to get that study done.
Absolutely.
And I think a third connection point is really the Virginia Capitol Trail. I mean, what an asset.
I think that's so cool,
Right? So from Richmond to Williamsburg, it's about 12 feet wide. It's paved. It goes across all these wonderful little bridges and meanders. What a perfect day to get out and ride your bike or walk any segment of it or all of it. But it stops at Williamsburg. It needs to come all the way to Hampton Roads. It needs to go all the way and connect to through the peninsula and be a resource for everybody and have another connection point for us.
I agree.
So those are the transportation connections.
One more I'd like you to maybe expound on a little bit is the I-64 Science and Technology Corridor. That's interesting, and I think it's got so much potential, John.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. We're thinking that mega regions across the country are brands. And the people, if you think about Silicon Valley, immediately you're thinking about computers and Research Triangle in North Carolina and in the Boston Technology Corridor. We want to make sure that people start thinking about our assets in a unique way that pulls us together in terms of a story that we have. You think 64, when you think about all the assets from Richmond to Virginia Beach, it really is an innovation corridor. Mm-hmm. And so we're thinking, to give it a geographical framework, we would call it the I-64 Innovation Corridor. But it's not just tech innovation. It's innovation across a lot of different areas. The folks at VCU Health have been working on this miraculous new delivery of drugs where you really can take a pharmaceutical plant and almost a suitcase size into a third world and manufacture drugs right there on the spot. Transformative in terms of helping society. But going down the corridor, you think about all of the incredible work that's going on at Jefferson Lab. And you think about the PhDs that come here and do a tour of duty inside Jefferson Lab, or you think about what NASA's doing and trying to put the first woman on the moon. And that training is going on here. And so I could go on and on with these sort of tech stories. But what we want innovation to stand for here is innovation in addition to tech, innovation in terms of how our health systems work together.
Yeah.
Innovations in terms of even our social services systems. I know in the middle of COVID, Centera teamed up with the Food Bank Federation and started working with the Richmond Food Bank in a big way and came up with these care packages to really be able to come out on pallets and to have a whole week's supply of food be handed out. So when people come by in line, they don't have to pick their groceries at the food bank. They can just be given this care package, a Centera care package. Yeah. That took enormous cooperation across the entire innovation corridor. Yeah. And so that's what we're hoping we can really help people to understand, that we have actually been a place where innovation has happened for 400 years. And we're going to keep doing it for the next 400 years. And it really sets up something that I think COVID's silver lining will be for us. People have realized they don't have to live where they work, right? They actually can pick where they want to live. And so more and more people are going to pick quality of life and live in a location that is remarkable. I've been all over the world. Richmond and Hampton roads are remarkable places to live. Yeah. And so if we can have all of this innovation and be sort of at the font of civilization in terms of the breakthroughs that are coming out of this region, but be this great place that you can live, I think that's a win-win strategy. And that's something that is really going to serve both of our regions so much better as we move forward.
Well, I always love to talk win-win strategies. Yes. The other thing I love about this, John, and I'll give credit to John Maxwell, who, as you know, is kind of a leadership guru. I read all of his books, and I most recently listened to a podcast that he put out. The podcast was on collaboration. Yeah. And what he did is he differentiated cooperation or communication with collaboration. And what he said is collaboration is a higher level, because what collaboration gives you is the willingness and the desire to work together for the greater good. Mm-hmm. Well, coordination is just like two people or two organizations coordinating, and
that's right.
There's not a lot of effort into it or whatever. But that's what RVA757 Connects gives. It gives people who are a coalition of the willing.
That's right.
That want to come together and collaborate for the greater good of this mega region, if you want to call it that.
That's right.
Because working together in a collaborative fashion, we're all going to be better. And I just want to thank you for your leadership in all of this, because I know the grandfather of this, of course, is Tom Frantz. We've got to give credit to him.
Absolutely.
We all love Tom Frantz. Ted Chandler is another leader from up in the RVA region. But your leadership has been instrumental in getting us where we are. And I look forward to the future of what RVA 757 Connects can give both regions. So again, John, thank you for being on the Hampton Roads Chamber chats today.
You bet.
And for all of you, thank you for watching. And stay tuned for a new Hampton Roads Chamber chat in the very near future. Thank you.